I wanted to tell you a quick story to give you some background on how I became a millionaire in real estate by age 28. Not the highlight reel, not the vague work hard version, but how this actually happened. I started a business in college that failed. I got into real estate at 22. And today my husband and I own over 18 rental properties and about $10 million in real estate in total. And we generate over 6 figures a year in passive income. That didn't come from one lucky year or one big deal. It came from stacking small wins, making a lot of mistakes, and staying in the game long enough for things to compound. I'm sharing this because most how I became a millionaire stories don't explain anything. They skip the hard parts, gloss over the boring parts, and leave you wondering what they actually did. So I'm going to walk you through this step by step, how I got started, what worked, what didn't, and how active income slowly turned into real long-term wealth. And before we go any further, let me clear something up. I didn't come from unlimited money and I have no trust fund. I grew up with 2 very different examples of work. My mom was an absolute force. She was a bond salesperson, what would probably be called a managing director today, and later started a construction company with my stepdad. I grew up on job sites, around development, watching how projects actually came together. She taught me how to navigate the world as a woman, how to ask for what I want, and how to not wait for permission. Her line was always the same: if you do not ask, you shall not receive. My dad, on the other hand, worked a very steady 9 to 5 with the Department of Corrections. Solid job, reliable paycheck, and very clearly something he did not love. Watching that made one thing very obvious for me. I did not want a life where I counted down to the weekends. That contrast shaped everything. I also grew up riding horses. I did show jumpers. And if you've ever been around that world, you know it's discipline, repetition, and a lot of humility. You don't get better by talking about it. You get better by showing up every single day, whether you feel like it or not. That mindset stuck with me. I went to college, joined the honors college, and I always knew I wanted to own my own business, so I didn't wait. While I was still in school, I started my very first company, a frozen yogurt store. And let me be very clear about this part. It was brutal. Years of 60-hour plus weeks with very little pay, constant stress, weekends, nights, holidays, all gone. It was real entrepreneurship, not the Instagram version. And eventually it failed. We didn't make it. That experience humbled me fast, but it also taught me how hard running a business actually is, how thin margins can be, how important systems are, and how much pressure responsibility puts on you. When that business ended, I didn't take a break. I jumped straight into real estate sales at 22. It felt familiar. I had a construction background. I understood houses, but that didn't make it easy. Real estate was really hard in the beginning. No one really tells you how to sell real estate. No one feeds you clients. You sit there thinking, now what? I worked nonstop. I learned everything I could. And in my first year, I was rookie of the year. I loved the work. But more importantly, I started seeing something most agents never look at. Some agents weren't just selling houses. They were selling to developers. They were investing. They were house hacking. That was the moment that something clicked. I realized commissions were great, but they were inconsistent. You're only as good as your last deal. And I didn't want my entire future tied to when my next closing might happen. So I bought my very first condo. I renovated it myself with the help of some friends, nights, weekends, lots of sweat equity. And when I sold it, I made about $15,000. That money didn't change my life, but the lesson did, because I saw the leverage. I saw how real estate investments work. I saw how money could be made while you sleep. And from that point on, every commission check looked different to me. It wasn't spending money, it was seed money. Fast forward through the boring parts, I met my husband who was selling real estate also and flipping on the side. And I said, what if I did this full time? We got married and that's when it all began. He kept selling. I started investing, flipping, doing rehabs full time. And we just grew from there. I kept reinvesting. I didn't partner up. I didn't rush. I just stayed consistent. Over time, that turned into rental properties, then more rentals, then scaling, then development. Today, we own 18 doors, no partners, roughly $10 million in real estate, and over $100,000 a year in passive income. That's after expenses. That didn't happen overnight. It happened in one boring, disciplined decision after another. And here's the part that I think matters most. And I want to be honest about something that mattered a lot in the early years. We always had my husband's consistent sales income. That stability mattered. It's what allowed us to qualify for loans when I was just getting started, to have money we could actually count on, and to move into full-time real estate development much faster than we could have on my income alone. That stability gave us room to take smart risks, not reckless ones. And looking back now, some of the hardest moments, the frozen yogurt business failing, the early grind in real estate, the uncertainty, those were the moments that shaped everything. At the time, they felt like setbacks. In reality, they were setting the foundation. So if you're in a tough season right now, or things didn't go how you planned, make sure you zoom out, stack the lessons, stay in the game, because life can look however you want it to, but only if you're willing to ask for it and work for it. And that is exactly how this happened for me.